She's coming back. She's coming back.
She's coming back and she's waving. Okay guys, it is May 11th now. We've been outside like every day this week. Oh, I didn't know I had so many freckles. All right, good to know. We've been outside every day this week getting the garden ready, and we have really nice weather for the next like week and a half because it's Wednesday and the May long weekend is a week and a half away. And I was gonna wait until the May long weekend to get the tomatoes and peppers out, but I think I'm gonna get them out now, and that way they kind of have like a good time like establishing, because it's going to be really warm during the day for the next couple weeks. So I think we're going to try that. We're going to gamble and we're going to do that because it's just getting really hard to try and get into the trays to water them right now, because they're just getting so big and leafy up there that I want to get them outside. And then that way the only thing left upstairs is the strawberries and the potatoes, which we've got to figure out where we're going to put the strawberries, and we have to figure out where we're going to put all of the fruit, because right now the fruit that just came in the shipment the other day came in on my birthday. It was a good little birthday surprise. But the shipment of fruit that came in from Vessie's on my birthday is actually in the basement right now. I'm trying to keep them dormant just for the next few days. I keep meaning to ask Josh where he wants the fruit in the backyard. I think I kind of know where I want to put them, but I want to talk to Josh about it and see where he wants to put it as well. So anyway, that's kind of the next little to-do, like separate from the garden. But today I think we're going to put the fencing up because we're training the tomatoes to grow vertical. So I have more fencing. So this fencing is 2-inch by 4-inch opening. And then the fencing is, I want to say, I can look, it's 4 feet tall and they're 50 feet long. So nice big panels, and that way we can kind of train the tomatoes to kind of grow through it. And then we just have to be careful as the tomatoes are growing that we're pulling all of the branches through to the side of the fence that we can reach the tomatoes once they're ripe. But anyway, I think today we're going to try and get all the fencing up and in the garden, and I don't want to be too gung-ho, but if we have time we'll start planting the tomatoes and peppers. So, and I found a nice little gadget in the basement actually that's going to help us plant the tomatoes and peppers, which is great. It's perfect. So anyway, stay tuned. We're gonna get to work in the garden again. It's going up to like 26 degrees again today. That's just what it's estimated at. I think it's probably going to get a bit warmer, but oh well. So let's get to work. I am the fastest gardener you've ever seen. No, I'm just kidding. So these rolls of fencing are kind of awkward and heavy, and I was actually laughing watching myself do this now because I've done six T-post rows of it now, and the way I was doing it here was a lot more complicated than it needed to be, but it's just because I saw someone else doing something similar on YouTube that I tried doing it kind of the same way. However, they were just using cattle panels and I'm using like a whole roll of fencing. So I actually changed my technique after a while, and you'll see, and it works. Sorry, Jordana's crying. And it just worked out a lot better, which was actually just, well, I guess I can just wait until it comes. And then what I'm doing is using just wire to, instead of getting like any special clips or anything, I just used wire. It was really cheap. It was like $2 for this big 165-foot roll of I want to say like 19 or 16 gauge wire. And so the wire itself was thicker than the fence, or maybe about the same thickness as this fence. And I just used it and I just tied it around on either side of the T-post, and I used needle nose pliers to just pull and use a lot of tension um, with the wire around the T-post. So that way it was nice and tight and it wasn't going to fall down. And I tried to catch one of the like notches, I don't know what they're called, but in the T-post it has like the bumps. I tried to go over top of a bump every time I tied a wire around, so that way it could basically support the fencing and the wire could kind of hang on that if it needed to, if it was starting to kind of get heavy and slip down. So that was what I'm doing here, and it's a lot of just wrapping wire and um, trying to trying to get this fencing to stay up. And it's funny, when I was editing this video, this one panel of fencing probably took like an hour and a half. And it looks really fast, but it's actually like we're like a good 3 minutes into this video already, and I'm not done one panel. But as I move further down, I could bang them out in half an hour almost. Um, so now this is a new roll, and I didn't film putting like the second half on the next section. But essentially the 50 feet in this garden, the 50 feet of the roll, I cut it in half and it did like 2 sections very well. So it's about 25 feet per section. And I do have them overhanging a little bit at the end and at like on either end. It overhangs a bit. So that way it can allow for plants to be planted just before the T-post and just after the last T-post as well. And what I would do is, as you can see, I would take the roll and I would wrap it around, cut it, wrap it around the other section, and try and make it as straight as possible, and then do all the wire at the same time. So that way I wasn't tying and then going back and wrapping it around and going back. So I just tried to be efficient. And then another tip, because you can't really see it very well here. The best way to do this, as I found doing it so many times, was to take the roll, as I just said, and use your body to help straighten out the panels and go wrap it all the way around, cut your piece, and then at the far side, so on the screen it would be the far left side where it wraps around the two T-posts, I would actually push it up to the top, and then I would use the top of the T-post and have that hold a section of the fencing to help hold the fencing up. And that way, that side was held up by the T-post, and then I would go to the far right side, and then start attaching it from those T-posts. Then I did the middle T-posts, and then I would bend the fencing to just kind of bring it in a bit, obviously because it wants to really round out, and I would just kind of bend it together as much as possible, and then I would do the far left T-post wires last. And yeah, by the end of it, I was just kind of banging them out really quick. So it got to be really fast, and it's really not all that hard. You just got to be careful because the wire is sharp and you can scratch yourself. So, but yeah, so this is going to hold our tomato plants. As I said, the tomatoes, we've got to make sure that we're pulling the flowers on the outside so that they're not growing on the inside, because I didn't think about this and Josh mentioned it after we purchased all this fencing. The 2-inch by 4-inch opening is not big enough for the bigger tomatoes to fit through. So we've got to make sure that we're pulling all the flowers to the outside so that when they do grow into big tomatoes, we can grab like harvest them easily and not try and figure out how to get to the inside and harvest any tomatoes. So, but yeah, and then the last 2 sections, so the second last section it's going to hold cucumbers and pole beans and shelling peas, and the very last section is going to hold all of the drying beans, such as like kidney beans, black beans, things like that. And I also have some homesteader peas on there, which I honestly have no idea what homesteader peas are. But I just want to make sure we grew a lot of peas because peas are great and peas are protein. Now, the thing with planting tomatoes out, when I did, we were in the middle of a massive heat wave. And these were some of my strongest tomatoes, honestly. And they were just kind of like they just flopped over. And they had been, I think they were outside for one night before I planted them. And then because I thought they would be tall enough to reach the fencing, and they actually were not as tall as I thought they were. So what I tried to do is use string to like kind of um, train it and support it, I guess, until it hit the fence, and then have it growing in and around the fencing, or using twine to tie the tomato plant to the fencing. And I don't know if it's just because they are in too much shock right now, but it's kind of working and kind of not. We got like a 50% success rate right now. A couple plants died. I think someone stepped on one, and then animals kind of like pecked the stem of another one and kind of broke it. Um, but yeah, this little doodad gizmo that I'm using, I found in the basement, and it basically is like a hole digger, and you can pinch the top of it, and it releases the dirt that it like dug in the hole. It's hollow. So that was pretty cool. It was a nifty little find in the basement. So I was glad I found that and use it. And I basically, it is almost the size of a red Solo cup. All I have to do is shove my little shovel in at the end, and I just kind of wiggle it around and just create a bit of a bigger hole. And then I just shove all the soil from the red Solo cup in there. And yeah, I basically just attach string to the fencing here and just kind of lightly wrapped it around the tomato plants to just support it all the way down the stem. Um, and hopefully it just, yeah, my kids don't like wearing shirts apparently. Um, and yeah, it just kind of supports the plant as we go. Yeah, I definitely thought Jonathan was going to hit me in the head with the baseball bat when he was swinging it around there. So anyway, this is we this is a bit of a different I guess like I planted these a bit differently than I had kind of planned online, because what I had planned to do online was not to plant them all the way around the way I did, like in utilizing the far left end there. But I did it anyway. And we have a row of T-posts that's going to go in the end all across the back that's going to have tomatoes on the front and back. So it's not really going to matter how I plant these ones, because there's going to be enough room for all of them. So we're just trying to max my space. We have a crap ton of tomato plants upstairs, and I'm hoping that we can plant them all and get a huge tomato harvest.